Um, okay, well this leads into the Sri Lanka bombing
Mm.
of the Easter worshippers. Yeah, the Easter worshippers. All those Easter worshippers were
Well,
killed.
who do I get to pistol whip? Who came up with that?
Some think tank from probably from the Washington Post or the New York Slimes, something like
Okay,
that. I'm sure.
for the more moronic amongst us, we do not worship Easter. Easter is an island. Easter is a holiday. Easter is the feast of the resurrection. It is not a deity we worship, not like Mammon, whom so many of our moronic rulers worship. No. Go ahead. They were Catholics. They were Christians. Say it. Name it, claim it, tame it. That's right.
Okay.
Don't be afraid, little munchkin rulers of ours. Don't be upset or worried that if you mention the fact that Catholics are murdered in cold blood, don't think we're suddenly going to rise up and push you out of your plush homes. You'll still be safe.
There is an interesting headline from Spectator.us, which asks an interesting question.
What's that?
The headline says, "We condemn the ideology behind Christchurch. Why didn't we do the same after Sri Lanka?"
Well, I can't tell for sure, of course. But thinking again of our moronic masters who determine so much of these things, and I'm not saying being a moron is a bad thing. It's inconvenient if you happen to be in charge and a moron. But still, I've lived that way most of my life, so I'm used to it. Having such wonderful people rule my life for me. So I'm really not upset by it at all. It's what I know. It's what I'm used to. I'm used to morons ruling me. Well, and I theoretically I've got a slight problem with it, but in terms of everyday life, I suspect it's because on a certain level they agree with them. I mean, remember, I'm hasten to say that I'm not painting all Democrats with this brush because it's a mindset that transcends mere political party names. You'll find many, many Democrats, particularly the poor and more ignorant sort. I don't mean moronic, I mean ignorant. Moronism is something I reserve for the rich and powerful. But uh, the more ignorant amongst us aren't touched by this. But I suspect that on a certain psychological level, a lot of the folk who are dominant in our society feel a certain nagging sympathy for the viewpoints of those who did the bombings in Sri Lanka.
Why is it
I
nagging?
think they would have a hard time admitting it to themselves, but I think they do.
What is that rooted in?
Well,
I
I
mean,
think it's rooted.
to me, I'll take a stab at it. We have been systematically programmed to hate Christianity, and we've been systematically programmed that all Eastern religions are nice and
Yeah,
non-judgmental, and so therefore, Christianity judgmental, bad. Eastern religions non-judgmental, good.
yeah, and of course that in itself is rooted by a phenomenon very specific to the generation of '68, the Boomers, etc., and that is a hatred of the culture and tradition they inherited, which was all bound up with Christianity. I mean, basically, in a certain sense, churches being blown up are like Daddy being shot again. Something they never had the guts to do while Daddy was alive, especially because Daddy was also a World War II vet. I mean, I've always thought it was kind of funny that my generation dubbed our parents the greatest generation after years of treating them like garbage. Guilt is a wonderful thing. Uh, but nevertheless, we continue to trash everything most of our parents stood for. And so I think instead of calling them the greatest generation, we should admit that on some level we hate their guts.
In the history of the United States, has that happened to some extent with every subsequent generation?
Not like this. Not like this. I mean, see, one thing is that with the onset of the 20th century, you had the whole concept of youth and teenagerhood being a separate thing in and of itself and unto itself. Before that time, young people were simply adults in training. And remember, before technology and all that, life was hard. You know, the average life expectancy wasn't that high. And as soon as you were able to do so, you were working. I mean, they had children working in factories, for heaven's sake. 12-year-olds, 8-year-olds, in factories, in mines. That was what things were like in the 19th century. And people in that position didn't have time to worry about, how does American youth feel? How do the young people feel? You know what? Here's your shovel. Get to work or starve. Your call. Not my idea of a good time, by the way. I'm very happy that we did away with child labor. And I'm glad that we developed sufficient resources to be able to allow the people of my generation to have a pleasant childhood and a pleasant youth. But that had its downside. And its downside is that it produced a generation that now dominate us. My generation. Mind you, I'm barely a member of it. But that's the great irony for me, The boomer generation, the generation of 68, is 1944 to 1964. I was born in 1960, so, I get the short end of the stick no matter what I do. The non-boomers will hate me because I'm a boomer, and the older boomers will hate me because I'm sure not one of them.